The low hum of the airplane filled the cabin like white noise. Passengers adjusted their seatbelts, flipping through magazines or scrolling on their phones, when a piercing cry shattered the calm. A baby wailed in first class, its cries growing louder with every second, echoing down the aisles. People groaned. Flight attendants rushed over with bottles, toys, gentle words. Nothing worked. At the center of the chaos sat James Reynolds, a billionaire tech mogul known for his steely composure and ironclad deals, now reduced to a panicked father bouncing his inconsolable baby. Sweat dotted his brow. He apologized under his breath to passengers glaring at him. In the crowded economy section sat a boy named Malik. He was only 12, traveling alone for the first time, his small hands gripping the straps of his worn-out backpack. Malik had learned to stay invisible, to take up as little space as possible. But as he watched the billionaire's baby sob and thrash, something in his chest stirred, not annoyance like the others, but empathy. Malik knew what it felt like to be helpless, and he could see it now on James's face. A father lost, a baby hurting, and a cabin full of strangers judging them both. Malik's life had never been easy. Raised by a single mom who worked double shifts at a diner, he learned early about sacrifice. His ticket on this flight wasn't bought. It was donated by a local church so he could visit his grandmother in another state. In his backpack was his most treasured possession, a small stuffed lion, frayed at the seams, given to him by his late grandfather. It was his comfort when the world felt too big. Up in first class, James Reynolds represented the opposite end of life's spectrum. His name was plastered across magazines, his company stock tickers a constant green. Yet inside, he was a man still grieving his wife's death 6 months ago, suddenly thrust into single fatherhood while running an empire. The baby's cries weren't just noise. They were a reflection of his own turmoil. Two people on opposite ends of wealth and age, but their stories, in that moment, overlapped in pain and vulnerability. As minutes crawled by, the tension rose like a storm cloud. Passengers whispered complaints. One man hissed under his breath about rich people and their spoiled kids. A woman pressed her headphones tighter, glaring at James. Flight attendants brought toys, warm milk, even dimmed the lights in first class. Still the baby screamed. James's hands trembled as he tried to soothe his child, whispering desperate words only the baby could hear. His eyes flicked shut for a moment. A flicker of grief etched across his features. He looked like a man about to crumble. Malik's heart pounded. He remembered his mother's words, "Kindness isn't about what you have. It's about what you give." He clutched his stuffed lion in his lap, its worn fur brushing against his fingers. He didn't know what he could do. He was just a poor kid in economy. But the baby's cries tugged at him like a call only he could hear. Malik turned the lion over in his hands. It was the only thing he had to comfort him on this journey, the only piece of home he carried. Could he really give it away? Would it even help? He bit his lip, feeling the eyes of adults around him who just wanted quiet. "You're just a kid," a voice in his head said. "Stay in your seat." But another voice, softer but stronger, spoke too. "He needs you." He stood halfway, then sat again, then stood once more, heart pounding like a drum. The flight attendant noticed him and raised an eyebrow. Can I go up there?" Malik asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded, leading him to the front. As he walked past rows of grown-ups staring, his small frame seemed both fragile and brave. Malik reached James and the crying baby. His hands shook as he held out the stuffed lion. Maybe your baby wants a friend," he said, his voice barely audible over the baby's cries. The cabin fell silent, dozens of eyes watching. James blinked, startled by the boy's presence. Slowly he took the toy and placed it near his baby. The effect was instant. The baby's cries tapered off into soft whimpers, then hiccuping sighs. Tiny fingers clutched the lion's warm mane. The baby's head nestled against it, and for the first time in hours, calm settled over the cabin. A collective exhale rippled through the passengers. James stared at Malik, his mouth slightly open, eyes glistening. "Thank you," he whispered, voice breaking. What had been irritation turned into admiration. Passengers who'd rolled their eyes now smiled warmly, some even wiping away tears. James shifted the baby on his shoulder and crouched down to Malik's level. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Malik," the boy replied, his eyes shy but steady. "Why did you give this to us?" James asked. Malik shrugged. "He needed it more than me." James swallowed hard. That lion might have been the boy's only toy, yet he'd given it without hesitation. Something inside James cracked open. It wasn't just gratitude, it was awe. He reached out and squeezed Malik's shoulder. "You're extraordinary," he said, his voice thick. When the plane touched down, Malik returned to his seat quietly. He didn't expect anything. He just felt lighter. But as he waited to disembark, his name was called over the loudspeaker. A flight attendant led him back to first class where James stood waiting. In front of the entire cabin, James thanked Malik again, then announced something that stunned everyone. "This young man reminded me what truly matters," he said. "And I intend to make sure his kindness is never forgotten." James revealed he has set up a scholarship fund in Malik's name, guaranteeing his education through college. Passengers erupted in applause. Malik's eyes went wide, his small hands gripping his backpack. He tried to speak but only a choked "thank you" came out. Outside the airport, James knelt to Malik's level, baby on one arm, stuffed lion in the other. "You reminded me what matters," he said again, pressing an envelope with the scholarship details into Malik's hand. Malik hugged him tightly, then smiled at the baby who cooed happily with the lion still clutched in his tiny fists. The camera pulls back on a powerful image, a billionaire, a poor boy, and a baby all connected by one small act of kindness. Compassion doesn't care about who you are, your background, or how old you are. Just one small gift can totally change someone's life forever.